Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Go Pramandi, Hari Hari Bol, Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki Jai, Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karuna. Beautiful voice. So we are now live on YouTube. Nimit, I've sent you the link. Just have a quick look, see if it works. So chapter 6, Dionyog. And this is going to be read by Kamakshi. Kanchan? Yes. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obliged is in the renounced order of life. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. For one who is neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. One must deliver himself with the self of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. For him who has conquered the mind is the best friend. But the one who has failed to do so, his mind will, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. A person is said to be established in self-realization is called a yogi or mystic, when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the meditators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with equal mind. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in a relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desire and feelings of progressiveness. Prabhu, did you want to record this? I'm not sure whether you are recording. Chapter 11, 12. To practice yoga should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the, can you take it up? Take it up, please. To practice yoga and should go to secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the take the lines up. Practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Text 13 and 14. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Thus, the practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God for abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjun, if you eat too much or eat too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remain always steady in his meditation and the transcendent self. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actually freedom from all miseries arising from the materialistic context. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with a determination and faith, and not to be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. From whenever the mind wanders due to this flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness and transcendental loving service to the Lord. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. He is perfect yogi who, comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjuna. Arjuna said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unstable. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kundi, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in the mysticism. Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Son of Pratha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil." The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. And when the yogi engages himself with a sincere endeavor in marking further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. A yogi is greater than ascetic, greater than the empiricistic, and greater than fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjun, in all circumstances, be a yogi. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving services to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Haribo.
Chapter 6 ki jai. And whoever's taken over the sharing of the screen, thank you so much. Who is that?
Prabhuji, this is my mom. You asked it.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Very good.
Prabhuji.
So Pari is doing very nicely. She's summarizing the Gita's chapter by chapter. So well done. Thank you very much.
We are also having session at 7 p.m. today.
Sorry?
We also have session for
Okay.
Jayanti at 7 p.m. today.
Yeah, well, we're going to continue. So we probably overlap that session. Okay, Pari, over to you.
Thank you.
So chapter 6, thank you Mataji for reading. So chapter 6 is all about Dhyana Yoga, and in present day there are many practices such as Hatha Yoga and Pranayama that benefit you physically and emotionally. Now, and then I think there's another, you can see that as we go on, Krishna provides even more sort of solutions to how to attain him. And despite being all these solutions, Arjuna questions that this practice specifically for himself, and he sort of implies that it's very difficult. And I think if Arjuna implies that, then definitely us in the Kali Yuga, it must be a lot more difficult for us as well. And so essentially it makes you think about which yoga is the best, and Bhakti Yoga, because it sort of involves Krishna in every process of him. And it's also said about Dhyana Yoga that a spiritualist who can't achieve the end result becomes lost in both spheres. And with this, I think it means you sort of get lost between the material and the spiritual world. And it's sort of a really risky procedure, which is why I think you have to be really trained to sort of do it. And it again reiterates the need of a guru, a need of a spiritual master. And because it's such a risky procedure, I think many people don't really apply it, because as Prabhuji's told us time and time again, Krishna loves us a lot and he wants us back with him as soon as possible. And so taking the long way, taking something that's going to take a lot of time, probably isn't the best choice. But people do tend to do it because it sort of it puts you in a state where you don't you're in the middle of everything. And so that's what Dhyana Yoga is all about. It controls your senses and it controls your mental state, and it controls you physically as well. And then towards the end as well, it explains the cycle of birth. And basically what that is your spiritual practice never goes to waste. If we look at it in percentages, if I'm at 40% now and something happens and I take another rebirth, I will start at that 40%. Therefore, whatever you do never goes to waste. And if I keep increasing that percentage, I will be born into a family that is already a part of the Gita. I won't have to go through too many struggles just to retain that knowledge again. And so we see Krishna explaining about the cycle of birth as well.
Very good. Thank you. This chapter also, he describes about the state of the mind, like if the mind is controlled, then is our good friend. If the mind is not controlled, is our worst enemy. And this point about the riskiness of doing spiritual activities, I think that's what Arjuna was saying to Krishna, that look, if I go on this path and fail, then I've lost, haven't I? Because I'm not in the spiritual sphere. And I've left the material sphere. I'm in no man's land. So, but Krishna reassures him that anybody who does any spiritual activity, it will never be lost. Like you said, it will never be lost. And secondly, it will protect you from the greatest danger, which is death. So Krishna is really kind. He's saying, look, don't worry, just do something spiritual. I know what I've told you is very difficult because Dhyana Yoga is tough, but there are so many different practices, especially bhakti, that we can engage in, which are very, very easy, but very, very spiritual as well. So thank you, Pari. Very, very good explanation. So now 7th chapter. So we're 1/3 of the way through the Bhagavad-Gita. And these 6 chapters represent Karma Yoga. Now we are entering into Bhakti Yoga. These next 6 chapters represent Bhakti Yoga. And we have 2 wonderful children from this Children's Sangha. And again, thanks to Priti. And also thank you, Priti, for taking over the Bhagavad Gita on the screen. That's really important. Thank you. So Vani, are you unmuted? Yes, great. So Vani, you're going to read the first 15 verses, and then Hema will be reading the next 15 verses up to text number 30. So Vani, take it away.
Knowledge of the Absolute. Text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Now hear, O son of Pratha, by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. I shall now declare out of many thousand among men, one may.
I shall now declare you full in knowledge.
I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Out of many thousand among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and also false ego. All together, these eight constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O mighty aunt Arjun, there is other superior energy of mind which compromises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. All created beings have their source in these two natures of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. O connoisseur of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in either and disability in man. Ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lies, and I am the penances of all ascetics. O son of Pritha, I know that I am the original seed of all existences, and its intelligence of the intelligent and the powerless of all powerful men. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am the sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of Bharatas, Arjun, know that all states of being be good, know that all states of being be safe, all goodness, passion or ignorance are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent and not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me, deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. The whole world does not know me, who am above the modes inexorable. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among the mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and whose partake of this atheistic nature of demons do not surrender unto me.
Well done. That's good. I think that was it. Chapter
That's it.
15. Well done, Vani. How old are you, Vani? Vani?
7.
7. My goodness. Amazing. Brilliant reading. Thank you so much. You're a great example for the children. You're only 7. My goodness. All right. Well done. Okay, Hema, over to you.
Text 16. A best among the Bharatas, for kind of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. Distress, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. Text 18. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls who is situated in the knowledge of me. I consider to be just like my own soul. Be engaged in my transcendental service, and he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge renders unto me, knowing me as the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. I am in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote him to that particular deity. Endowed in such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtain his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees unlimitedly reach my supreme planet. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, who is impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to this small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. I am never manifest to foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. O Arjuna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and the things that are yet to come. I also know all the living entities, but me no one knows. O scorn of Bhagavad, O conqueror to foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from dualities of delusion. They engage themselves in service of determination. An intelligent people endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actual Brahman because they eternally know about the transcendental activities. Text 30. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of all material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death.
Thank you, Emma. Emma, that was very good. This is the end of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. Ki Jai. How old are you, Emma? Or did she mute herself already? That's okay. So, Pari, over to you.
That was the girls that read. That was so beautiful. Chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. Now, this chapter starts to focus more on Bhakti Yoga, the yoga that I've referred to in the past chapters, and it's probably the best form of yoga that a devotee could use to reach the spiritual realm. And basically, what Bhakti Yoga is when you start making Krishna enter the process, when you start even you offer the results you obviously already, but you start involving him in the process and you start thinking of him while you're doing it. I think that's the main thing. And it mentions that Krishna is the sustaining force of both material and spiritual things, and advanced souls worship him and they surrender unto him in devotion, but other souls that divert attention worship other.
We may have lost you, Pari, or we might be lost. One of the two. So,
I think we've lost Pari.
oh, have we? Okay.
Okay, we just
Yeah, so
summarize.
I'll just carry on. Yes, so some souls. You're
She's
back.
back.
You're back. Carry on. You were at the point of some souls divert their mind to other objects of worship.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so for those who didn't hear, other souls divert their attention to worship other things, and basically those other things can consist of demigods, material objects that they want to attain, celebrities or ghosts and spirits, and these are things that don't have the true force of the spiritual master or the spiritual lord, and that's why they may not give you the satisfaction that your soul may crave. And again, I think the theme of listening about the Lord, it's something that's really reiterated, because you can't learn and you can't teach without actually listening. And it's said that when your senses are engaged in the Lord, you are purified in that moment. So if you're listening, you're purified. If you're looking at the Lord, you're purified. So it could be, and so think about it. If all your senses are engaged in the Lord, then you are purified completely in that moment. Furthermore, Krishna sort of explains everything in which he rests, and it's an example could be that he's the string that holds together the pearls of a necklace. So yeah, that's
He gives
just
that example himself, actually. He himself gives that example. So
yeah. So it also talks about the people that approach Krishna and the ones who don't, and the ones who approach him could be that could be in depression, they could be distressed, they are in desire of wealth, they are sort of inquisitive, they're not sure what it is, but they want to know, just because of their own sort of desires. If they want to sort of, they either want to make themselves look in a certain way, or they want to, it could be genuine, but inquisitive is more so a material sort of quality where you're unsure of what's happening. And another person that approaches him is someone that actually wants the knowledge of the absolute, and that's the highest sort of quality you should have when you're looking to know about Krishna. And those who don't approach him, they're considered to be known foolish and blinded and sort of very attached to the material world. And those are just some of the people that approach him and don't approach him. And we also see the theme of who we should worship and who we shouldn't. Like he mentions the demigods, and the demigods, it's okay to worship them, but they are not the supreme personality of Godhead, because that is what Krishna is. And demigods, yeah, they might give you what you want in the moment when you worship them, but it's not necessarily for your long-term benefit. And that's what you get when you pray to Krishna. I think the easiest example I could think of is in food. If you're hungry, yeah, you in the moment you really might want chips, or you might want cake or crisps or something, but what you really need is a meal, something that will nourish you, something that will keep you energetic in the long term. And so that's the difference between demigod and the Supreme Personality of the Godhead.
Very nice. Good example. And it's not that we disrespect, we respect the demigods as Lord expects us to, but our worship is exclusively for the Supreme Lord, because as you very nicely said, he can award the ultimate benefit, whereas demigods can give you just temporary benefits. Thank you very much, Pari. Excellent explanation. Now we have two really extraordinary souls who are going to read chapter 8. That's Hari and Himo, and they are two brothers. And in the Children's Sangha, they always give me and Priti a very hard time with so many different questions, but their questions are really wonderful. And they're ready. Can we see you for 1 second?
Yeah, we're here.
Where are you? No, that's here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You carry on. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Namaste, Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is a material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how does he live in the body? O Madhusudana? And how does engaged in devotional service, how you at the time of death? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his internal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entities is called karma, or fruitive activities. O best of embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adideva, and I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, and am called Adihiyajana, the Lord of sacrifice. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. And he who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged attached in remembering me, undeviated from the path. He or path is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. One who, at the time of death, fixes his life between the eyebrows, and by the strength of yoga, which an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full of devotion, which certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are the great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation of detachment from all sensation engagements, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the live air on top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the scared syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prata, because of his constant engagement in devotional service.
Well done, Hari. How old are you, Hari?
7.
Wow, you're amazing. And there's Himo. Straight face, Himo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of mysteries, because they have attained the highest perfection. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are the places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, the son of Kunti, never takes birth again. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when night falls, they emerge into the unmanifest again. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is internal and transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. Is supreme and is never annihilated. When all this world is annihilated, the part remains as it is. That which the Vedantis describe as unmanifest and unfallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme abode. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is pervading, and everything is situated within him. O best of Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. Those who know Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels north. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke in night, the fortnight of waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet but comes back. According to Vedic opinion, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes light, he does not come back, but when one passes darkness, he returns. Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing a devotional service, he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme internal abode. Eternal.
Well done. Fantastic. And how old are you, young man?
7.
Oh, so you're twins. Okay. I didn't realize that. Thank you very, very much. You look very similar, I must admit. Well done, Hari, and well done, Imo. Amazing. So 8th chapter Ki Jai, and Pari, over to you.
Thank you for reading. And so in this chapter, we see attaining the Supreme and how we can sort of get close to them and attain the spiritual freedom, that is the realm. Arjun basically urges Krishna to tell him about the nature of the self, God, and the karma, so action. And he speaks to Krishna to explain what the true freedom is. And essentially Krishna answers that the true freedom is not in life, but it's the true freedom of the soul is being with him. And so our ultimate destination is going to the Lord. He defines a lot of the self's creative power, and he basically says that it's essential to sort of be in that state of Bhakti Yoga, because it's basically said that once you die, the last emotion that you're in, that's what you sort of attain in your next birth. So if my last emotion is sort of regret, then in my next life, I think that's the emotion that will be more prominent. That will be the dominating emotion. But if I'm in Bhakti Yoga constantly and I'm thinking of Krishna with love, then in my next life, I'm more likely to quickly attain spiritual freedom, because I've been in that state. And if it's true that my prominent emotion is shown in my next life, then it would be most rewarding to be in the state of worshipping Krishna.
Yeah,
And
Krishna actually says one who remembers him at the time of death will attain him, will go back to the spiritual world. So that's remembering is so important. And whatever you remember right throughout your life is usually what will come to you at the end of your life. That's why practicing bhakti from a young age is very important. Keep going.
so I think I'm not sure how to explain it, but I'm not sure how to explain any more of it, to be fair.
Okay, no, that's okay.
I think
Then,
mainly he answers more predicaments, like the four main, which are birth, disease, old age, and death. And I think the main themes of this chapter are just Arjuna asking repeated questions about these four things and how they can sort of avoid them and attain spiritual perfection with the Lord. And yeah.
yeah, that's good. He also describes the destination of various spiritual practitioners. So those who worship the devatas, they go to the planets of the devatas, like that. And he also describes what happens to that yogi who passes away during the dark part of the sun, and the southern part of the sun, the northern part of the sun, wherever the sun is in the hemisphere, and they have different destinations. But he also explains that devotees don't mind, because they simply are reliant on the Lord. So they don't mind when they will pass away, because they are always focused on the Supreme Lord. That is their protection. Thank you, Pari. That's good. Now, chapter 9 is Hirtika, 27 verses, and then Veda for the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, and also 27, 17 verses, 17 verses. Chapter 9. And that's entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. It is the perfection of religion, it is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself, it is the very source of creation. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. Those who are thus bewildered and attracted by demonic and atheistic views, in that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Others who engage in sacrifice with cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme God as the one without a second, as the diverse in many, and in the universal form. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Samma, and the Yajur Vedas.
Oh, Veda's next. Are you ready? Thank you very much, Hitika. So confident. Really good reading. Huh? Fantastic reading, in fact. Yeah. So Veda from number 18. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place and the eternal seed. O Arjuna, I give heat, and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense, pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Those
Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principle of the three Vedas achieve only birth and death, repeated birth and death. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me. O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. If one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. In this way, you will be freed from the bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results with your mind fixed on me. In this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Pratha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of a lower birth, women, Vaisyas, merchants, and Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in a loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. Hare Krishna.
Wow, you're so confident. I really like it. How old are you?
8.
Wow, you're amazing. Really good reading, Veda.
Thank
Very,
you.
very good. And with a smile on your face as well. So that's the way to read Bhagavad-Gita, with a smile. So well done. Really good. Really good.
Thank you.
Thank you for reading. So chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. Now halfway through, and this is I think this is where most of the important information
Mhm.
lies as well. So Krishna answers questions of people, what happens to people if they sin but they are engaged in bhakti, or what happens if they're a faithful devotee, and many things like that. And someone who isn't practicing bhakti, they can't attain the Lord, because the Lord, all he wants from us is in like immense love. And if we don't have, if we love someone, we tend to think of them all the time, and so that should be our attitude towards Krishna. And so when you have that, you will automatically be prominent in Bhakti Yoga. And so if you're not practicing that, that means, well, there must be a sort of, I guess, just a little bit more to go. He reveals himself in everything, and this ranges from the butter, the fire, and the austerity to everything, even in the material world as well as the spiritual world. But this doesn't mean that we look for him in material objects. We fail to realize that worshipping his true form is the most beneficial for us to attain spirituality. If I do love my mom, but I go, worship her, I don't know, her clothes or something she uses, that's not me sort of loving her. That's me loving the things that she attains. If I'm going to love something fully, then I must love the person for it. And anything offered to him for benefit is never equal to anything offered with love. If I perform a sacrifice for the Lord, but it's for my own benefit, then it wouldn't be considered as important as me just offering a leaf or a pot of water or a flower to the Lord. And he also mentions that if we worship the demigods or the ancestors or ghosts, we take a place in that category. And so to attain Krishna, the Supreme Lord, we must worship him. And it makes sense. If you worship something day and night, then it means you sort of want to be in that category. And if we do have immense love for Krishna, then I think it makes sense to only worship him. And when he mentions anyone who commits sin will be forgiven if he's in devotional service. Now, that doesn't mean that you perform sins and then ask forgiveness from the Lord and then expect to be forgiven. It's more of, you wouldn't actually commit sin if you are under the guidance of the Lord. So it sort of goes hand in hand. But yeah, I think that's mainly what this chapter is about.
Good explanations. And I like the explanation about if you worship the Lord, or if you worship his things, if you're worshiping his things, his opulence, because perhaps you want his opulence rather than you want him. So that's a very nice example, that actually our focus should be the Lord rather than perhaps some of the opulent things in this world that surrounds us. Very nice point. And he also says that the devotee who worships him, he protects that, he maintain whatever he hasn't got, the Lord will provide. This is the beauty of bhakti and beauty of being devoted to the Lord. Thank you very much. Very good explanation. So now we have Samarth. Samarth, are you there, Samarth? Pretty, is Samarth there?
Yes, he is.
Would you like to unmute her? Ah, yes, he's there. He's there. Great, great. And then, so you're doing the first 21 verses, and then Sri Krishna. Wow, we got Sri Krishna. He's going to actually speak in the rest of the 10th chapter. Okay, go for it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prince of the Absolute. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna. Because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences. For in respect, I am the source of the demigods and sages. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all, as the supreme Lord of all the world, he only undeluded among men is freed from all sins. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearfulness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living to me. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, protagonators of mankind, come from me born from my mind, and all of the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. One who is factually convinced of the opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service of there is no doubt. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroying with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest." All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa confirmed this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all what you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your eternal potency. O Supreme Person, original of all, Lord of beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe, please tell me in detail of your divine opulences, which by you pervade all these worlds. O Krishna, Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? O Janardana, again, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Yes, I will tell you my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the heart of living entitled. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of light, I am the radiant sun. Of the Marut, I am Maharishi, and among the stars, I am the moon.
Well done, Samarth. Beautifully read. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Shri Krishna, over to you.
Jai Krishna. Of the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda. The demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind, and in living beings, I am the living force. Of all Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas, I am the Rakshasas. Of the Lord of wealth and the Vashus, I am fire, and of mountains, I am Meru. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief. Brahaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, and of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Of horses, know me to be Uaishrava, produced during the churning of the ocean of nectar. Of Lord the elephants, I am Airavat, and among men, I am the monarch. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Shurabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kadarpa, the god of love, and of serpents, I am Vasuki. Of the many-hooded Nagas, I am Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of the parted ancestors, I am Ariyama, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death. Among deity demons, I am the devoted Prahlada. Among subduers, I am time. Among beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda. Of purifiers, I am the wind, and of wielders of weapon, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark, and of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma. I am all devouring death, and I am generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Of the hymns in the Sama Veda, I am the Brihat Sama, and of poetry I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margasharisa, and of seasons, I am the flower-bearing spring. I am also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid I am the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am strength the strong. Of the descendants of Vishnu, I am Vasudeva, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa, and among great thinkers, I am Osana. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silent, and of wise, I am the wisdom. Furthermore, Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. Almighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Know that, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? In a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe.
Very good reading, Shri Krishna. Fantastic. How old are you, Shri Krishna? Oh, he's probably muted now, isn't he? No worries. Thank you very, very much. Brilliant reading. Okay, Pari, 10th chapter. Amazing chapter, actually.
You're muted.
You muted, eh?
Sorry. Okay, so the 10th chapter, the opulence of the absolute. Opulence referring to the grandeur, and absolute referring to Krishna. So here we see that Krishna himself classifies him as the highest of sort of every category there is. For example, in the alphabets, he's A, and A is the foremost letter, which is a vowel. It's used a lot. He says within the rivers, he's the Ganga. And so we see him giving himself a level of his opulence. And then during the end, he says, what need is there for all this detail? And it shows how humble the Lord himself is.
Good.
And we analyze this in a way that even though Krishna sort of explains everything to Arjuna, it's not him being sort of conceited in a way. It's him genuinely showing the truth to Arjuna. But then in the end, again, he says, what need is there for all this detail? Because he's already provided the knowledge. However, he goes on to explain his nature to Arjuna, because Arjuna is a close friend to him. And I think to an extent, they're even cousins. And so because Arjuna has the intellect, he's already listened to Krishna so much, it only makes sense that Arjuna gets the whole sense of how grand the Lord is and why he should surrender himself unto him, even though he already has. And then text 8 to 11, it shows the essence of the Bhagavad-Gita, and it sort of explains that the Lord is the source of everything. He's the origin of everything, and how his devotees should interact with him. And it reveals himself to his devotees, and it destroys all doubts that anyone may have, because so many people, again, they question if the Lord is there, if there is something such as God, then why don't we see him act? But that's how spiritualists identify the Lord. They identify him in every creation there is. In the birds, for example, Garuda, and in the lions, he is in the animal kingdom, he's the fiercest. So it's not the fact that you have to see the Lord, but you have to feel his essence in every creation there is. And you can only sort of see that if you're engaged in Bhakti Yoga again. And so, yeah, I think that's about it. And then he explains about, so Krishna also, as the supreme, he sort of explains how he's the greatest of sages, and Krishna and Arjuna then sort of wants to know more and more about Krishna's opulence. So that's what this chapter is about.
Very good. And about the sages, it's actually Arjuna is saying to Krishna, actually, I accept you as the supreme, but not just I. So because I'm your friend, others might think, hey, they're just buddies, So that's why Arjuna accepts Krishna as the supreme. But he says to Krishna, not just I, but the great sages also accept you as the supreme. So thank you for the explanation. Very good, very thorough. Very nice. Now, we have two amazing persons. They joined the Bhakti Gyan course, and they also have amazing voices. They sing so beautifully. Ishwari and Kishori, they're sisters. They live in Brighton, and they are very, very, very intelligent. There are some amazing questions as well. So over to you, Ishwari and Kishori. You can decide how you want to split the chapter. It's a long one, probably the toughest chapter in the Gita.
Yes, Prabhuji. Arjun said, by hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity, and have realized your inexhaustible glories. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, O son of Parth, see now my opulence, hundreds and thousands of very divine and multicolored forms. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before. O Arjun, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here completely, in one place. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence. Sanjaya said, O king, having spoken thus, the supreme lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjun. Arjun saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. At that time, Arjun could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe, situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. Arjuna said, My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence spreading on all sides, like blazing fire or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying, All peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadhyas, the Visvadevas, the two Ashwinis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. O all-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed in fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with their heads smashed between your teeth. As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouths. I see all people rushing at full speed into your mouths, as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savasya Sachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trembling Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a faltering voice as follows. Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid, and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. O Great One, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O Limitless One, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. You are air, and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again, and yet again. Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I have may done, in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipable chief. You are the supreme spiritual master. No one is greater than you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? You are the supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a husband the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I have made done you. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head, and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, happily have I shown you, by my internal potency, the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardana, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. My dear Arjun, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Jai, beautifully read. 11th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita ki Jai. Well done, Ishwari. And Kishori, did you both read? Oh, you're probably muted now. Thank you very much. You're so competent in how you do everything. So thank you. Fantastic, Ishwari, Kishori. Okay, buddy. Over to you.
Ishwari and Kishori. So chapter 11, the universal form. Now, right at the start of the chapter, Arjuna says that now that I've heard, well, he essentially, in summarized words, says that now that I've heard about your opulences, I would like to see them. And it shows how even Arjuna had to sort of hear about the Lord first before seeing them. And it also shows that Krishna does anything for his devotees. And he's just as surrendered to him as we are to us than as we are to him. But it just requires undivided devotion and all the time. When Arjuna asks to see, the Lord says that he requires divine eyes, and it again shows that mortals cannot see his true form. We have to be into bhakti to see his true form. And when we see his fearsome form with multiple arms, multiple legs, his teeth, his bellies, everything is an expansion within him. And I think essentially he also connotes that even if Arjuna didn't fight, all these people who were on Duryodhana's side, including Duryodhana, would have been destroyed, because a dharma is a dharma, and it doesn't matter if Arjuna is not fighting, the Lord will establish dharma by any means. But Arjuna in this case is just a medium for him. We see when he reveals his universal form, we see there's a slight contrast in Krishna. There's parts where he requires thousands of suns. That's his effulgence, but he's got this fearful sort of face, and we kind of see good sides and bad sides in universal form. But then again, the spiritual form, the one where he grows up in Vrindavan, and his spiritual form is his normal sort of form we see everywhere, that is always above the universal form. And it shows how much, like, to get someone to follow something, it shows how people instill fear in them. And we see that Krishna doesn't always, we don't see Krishna as in his universal form. We see him in his sweet, sort of smiling spiritual form. And it shows that Krishna doesn't have to instill fear to make people follow him. He just has to sort of be himself. And that's what the Lord is all about. Just the Lord being himself can sort of make so many people love him. And that's the beauty of Krishna's spiritual form. But at the same time, that's the hardest form to sort of attain. And we see that only by having bhakti we can attain that form. And it shows how you have to love the Lord so much to be able to just see that one form. Also, and when when Arjuna says, he sort of apologizes to the Lord by saying like, I'm sorry for, calling you my friend, or I'm sorry for establishing a relationship. It shows how Arjuna himself, like such a great warrior, he's really feared by this form. And so Krishna goes back to his spiritual form just to sort of calm Arjuna down so that he's not scared anymore. And because the Lord also mentions that no one's seen it in the material world, it shows that he doesn't want look fearful to any. He doesn't want to show anyone his fearsome form. All he needs is this sort of love and the bhakti for us, so that we can all, as souls, go back to him.
Very good explanation. I like it. Pari, thank you very much. Wonderful. So 12th chapter is Bhakti Yoga, one of our favorite chapters. Of course, they're all good chapters, but this one really is such an amazing chapter. And amazing devotee called Naniben is going to recite, and I'm just trying to find her. She's also known as Pooja. Where are you, Pooja? Naniben. Ah, there she is. Okay, Naniben, you can unmute and please recite away.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chapter 12, Devotional Service. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Prutha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up all results of your work, and try to be self-situated. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. He by whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. My devotee, who is not dependent upon the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some results, is very dear to me. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, hate and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Naniman. Fantastically read, as always. So, magnificent chapter. And this is the end of the Bhakti Yoga part of the Bhagavad-Gita. Although all of it is Bhakti Yoga, but specifically this chapter is all about Bhakti. Okay, Pari.
Thank you for reading, Mataji. So yeah, quite a short chapter. 12. So chapter 12 is about Bhakti Yoga, and we see at the start that Arjuna asks Krishna which form is better to worship, his personal form or his impersonal form. And Krishna says that in both ways you are worshipping him, but the better form and possibly the one that attains the highest form of spiritual achievement is the personal form, is his personal form. And then he sort of moves on to describes all the ways that his devotee should be, and it's all about sort of maintaining that one stage where you're same in everything. So like he gives examples, for example, in happiness and distress, you're the same. In heat and cold, you're the same. You're not affected by something too much, and you're silent and satisfied. And as Navi Prabhu before said, a devotee that is sort of deprived of anything, if he's involved with the Lord, then he will be given what he doesn't have. And Krishna gives various options of how to reach to him. As we've seen before, the different forms of yoga always lead to him, but Bhakti Yoga is one thing that excessively is sort of pushed upon, because it shows your undying devotion to the Lord, and it shows it shows that you're fully in love with the Lord, and that's all the Lord really needs.
Very good. Thank you so much. And he also describes very nicely how he gives so many options. He says, okay, best thing is you focus your mind and intelligence in me, and you'll always be with me. And Arjuna must have looked at him thinking, oh, come on, I've got to fight here, I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay, he said, then follow the rules and regulations of bhakti. Again, Arjuna must have looked a little, how's that going to happen? It's okay, work for me. I'm not going to work for you, he's thinking. Okay, if you can't work for me, then give up the results of your work for me. Oh, you can't do that? Then at least meditate upon me. Oh, is it difficult to meditate? Then just gain some knowledge. Just get to know me a little bit. So he gives so many options. But thank you, Pari. That was a good explanation of Bhakti Yoga. So now we are chapter 13. So this is the beginning of Gyan Yoga section. And we wanted to ask Lena and her granddaughter if she's still with you. Can we? Yeah, just trying to.
Sorry, Prabhuji, she's not. But
okay, no problem. You go for it. And yes, go for it. Go for it.
Hare Krishna. Nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and the object of knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, when it's produced, who that knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. The five great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses and the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interreactions. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home and the rest, even-mindedness, amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. I shall now explain the knowable knowing, which you will taste, the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. The Supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. The Supreme Truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Although the Supersoul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations in the modes of matter are products of material nature. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Supersoul. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Some perceive the Supersoul within themselves through meditation, others through cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without putative desires. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person, upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. One who sees the supersoul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually says. One who sees the supersoul equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually says. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Those with a vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all the universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attain to the supreme goal. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very nicely read. And thank you for the darshan of your wonderful deities. These are very unique Radha Krishna deities because Radha's got her arm around Krishna. And she's also got her arm or hand on his flute. So, very unique deity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Krishna's mercy.
Hare Krishna. Okay, tough chapter, this one. Pari, over to you.
Thank you for reading, Mataji. So, chapter 13, nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. So, the material nature starts being introduced. Now, we see that Krishna starts saying things like nature is the cause of the activity. So, for example, if we feel heat or if we feel cold, that's because of the nature in this sort of material world. And he says that the self is what generates responses to the bodily activity, such as pain or pleasure. So what he basically means is, in this world, these things we bring onto ourselves. And if we don't want to experience these things, because these things will always have an effect on us. If we feel too hot, then we're going to have to do something to cool ourselves down. If we feel too cold, we're going to have to sort of be stuck inside our house. If we feel too much pain, it might cause us a lot of stress or depression. So these type of things bind us to material nature even more, because we constantly do things to sort of bring them to a level of where we feel comfortable. But that's what Krishna says. To sort of get these things to a level where you don't have to fix them, you must attain me. And the only way to, again, attain him is through Bhakti Yoga and all the ways he's suggested before. And when we're in the spiritual realm with Krishna, our souls become Satchit Ananda, which means we sort of receive eternal happiness. And he also mentions that between the enjoyer, a lot of people think that, if I'm doing something, I am the one who gets benefit out of it, or I am the one that sort of receives the fruit of this. But actually, the supreme enjoyer is Krishna, as he's the one that receives all if we are souls and we belong to him, then technically what we do good, he is getting the supreme enjoyment of that. And so he also talks about the 6 sort of concepts, and he talks about he talks about Prakriti, which is nature in the material world. He talks about Purusha, the enjoyer or supreme enjoyer, which is Krishna himself. He talks about Kshetra, which is like the field of activities, the body. He talks about Kshetrajna,
Yeah.
and which is that's the soul within the body. He talks about Jnanam, which is knowledge, and Gnayam, which is the object of the knowledge. And so he describes knowledge as well, and the nature of the soul. And he says that the nature of the soul will always be to attain the Lord. No matter how much time it would take, we will sort of get there, but it may just delay others. And I think that's about it.
Good. No, very good. It's a tough chapter, this one, but well explained. Arjuna asks lots of questions, and Krishna describes a lot in this chapter about the body and nature, material nature. Thank you. Okay, now we have 2 wonderful souls here from the Children's Sangha, and Yash. Very good. So here you're reading the first 14 verses, and thereafter it'll be Yash. Over to you.
The 3 modes of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own, thus established. One is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings, O son of Bharata. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the internal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode becoming conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O the son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness,
indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the bodies are illuminated by knowledge. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great achievement, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages.
Well done here. Very well read. Thank you so much. And now it's Yash. And we need to unmute Yash. Let's see if we can find him. Okay, over to you, Yash.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery. And action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and the distress, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and illusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is
equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friends and enemy, and who renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances at once, transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman, and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Well done. Thank you so much, Yash. Very good reading. Now let's go to Pari for a summary of the 14th chapter. Very interesting chapter.
Thank you for reading. So, chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Now, I remember this chapter very, very well, and I've created so many quizzes on it. So, the Lord starts off describing our attitude, our behavior, our lifestyle, and all our senses, and how they come under three modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And he explains how they permeate everything we do, and how they sort of influence, how we come under the influence of each at different times in our life. So he talks about how goodness is illuminating, and it leads to happiness, and it leads to the person sort of gaining a place in the higher planets. And that's sort of a summarization of goodness. Then comes passion, and how a person in the mode of passion predominantly has a lot of desires and a lot of longings, and how they lead to you being very involved in fruitive actions and gaining a place in among those people that also think alike, that are greedy and sort of come under that category. Then we have ignorance, and ignorance is it's a place of darkness and ignorance, and it essentially leads to madness and you being born under the animal kingdom. Now, if you're born in the animal kingdom, you're then going to have to go through millions of stages until you come to the level of consciousness where you can then learn about Krishna again. And that just leads to your spiritual platform being delayed further and further. So it's best to sort of keep your mindset in a sattva or a sort of goodness mode, because it helps you also attain that knowledge and understand it properly enough to do things that bring you closer to Krishna. Then he talks about the qualities of each, and he says how a person in the mode of goodness views everything. Again, these examples have been reiterated throughout the Gita because they're so important, and it shows how a person in goodness has equiposed attitude, and they see happiness and distress as the same. They treat their friends and their enemies the same, and they view gold and stone with an equal eye. And then a person in passion is always sort of greedy, always having lust for something, always wanting to attain something material in this world. And someone in ignorance just tends to stay in darkness. They have inertia, they're lazy. And I think these three modes fluctuate a lot. But to sort of get out of these three material modes, if you're constantly under the guidance and under the devotion of Krishna, then you will sort of achieve pure goodness. And it's good because you wouldn't want to get out of that state once you're in there. Once you're captivated by Krishna, it motivates you to do more and more, and that's called pure goodness, which is essentially Bhakti Yoga, because you involve him in everything. And so that's about the three modes of nature.
Thank you. Very well explained. And essentially the chapter talks about 3 modes, as you said, very nicely, and how they work, which you explained. Also, it describes the attributes to each mode, which you explained. And then Krishna describes how to get over, how to transcend these 3 modes and get to him. So very, very nice chapter to read constantly, because it gives really amazing knowledge about what this world is all about. Now, I can see 2 wonderful characters there, the twins, Kathan and Katit. They're going to read chapter 15. Wow, looking forward to you reading it. And they're really young. They're like 6, I think. So over to you, Kathan and Katit. Maybe 10 verses each.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead saying, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its root upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree knows of the Vedas. The branches of this tree extend down towards upwards, nourished by the 3 modes of material nature. The twigs are objects of the senses. The tree also have roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. The real form of the tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with the determination, one must cut down the strongly wooded tree with a weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and thus surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything was extended since the time immemorial. Those who are free from false practicing, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered, known how to surrender up to the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. The supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to his material world. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental thoughts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which include the mind. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another. As the air carries
aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits to take another. The living entity, thus taking other gross body, obtains a certain type of eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit its body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all of this. The enduring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuff. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. There are 2 classes of being fallible and the infallible in the material world. Every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Besides these 2, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engaged himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharat. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sincere one, sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
Jay, well done. 15 chapter Ki Jay and Katan and Katit Ki Jay. Very good reading, both of you. And how old are you? 6,
Thank you.
right?
6.5.
My goodness, amazing. You must be one of the youngest to read. So congratulations. You're so good. Well done.
Thank you.
Really good. Well done, Purnamaji. Amazing. So,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for reading. Chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Now, chapter 15 starts off with a beautiful analogy, and it gives us the analogy of a tree. It says that the branches are the modes, and the twigs are the objects of the senses, and the roots are bound to fruitive actions of society. Now, sort of analyzing that, it makes sense because the roots go downwards, and they constantly pull you down for you to be sort of attached to those fruitive activities. And it shows that you can never, the deeper you go, you can't really evolve as much. You can't reach higher to the supreme abode, because it pulls you so far underneath. But then Krishna says that you must cut this tree with the weapon of detachment, and that basically kills all the fruitive attachments that you may have, or all these objects that you may want, and it controls your senses and the material modes of nature. Then it talks about how those free from prestige and illusion attain the eternal kingdom, and we start to get a sort of a little description of Krishna's kingdom. And it says that there is no sun or moon that lights it up, unlike this material world, because the Lord's effulgence and the Lord's light himself is enough. Then it talks about how the foolish doesn't understand how a living entity can quit his body. Now that basically means if you are in darkness, or if you do not associate with Krishna, your senses sort of take over, and your only goal is to satisfy your senses. But that's sort of a never-ending process, because your senses will always want something to gratify it later on, and that's sort of a continuous process which delays you and it stops you again. And I remember Navi Prabhu gave us this this sort of analogy. It was an example of Mr. Bean. I think it was an episode from Mr. Bean, and he said that Mr. Bean walks into the room and he starts hanging up paintings and pictures like it was his own house. And I remember I started laughing, and I was like, if he's going to a hotel, then why is he, putting up pictures? What sense does that make? But that also perfectly sort of emphasizes us, because we're in this material world for such a short time, yet we make so many arrangements for our security and so many arrangements for our comfort, but we don't realize that we won't be here for long. This is not where we're supposed to be. And so that's what chapter 15 describes.
Very good. Well done. Fantastic description. So I was going to, we are on to chapter 16. And chapter 16 is such an eye-opening chapter. And I can't remember how many verses there are in chapter 16, but half of it. Prema, would you like to read? You can start the first half. And yes, and the other half, I was thinking Radhika or Geeta, one of you two can read. So whoever presses the buzzer first. Okay. Prema?
You muted, Prema.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. Now I can hear you now. Please, Prabhuji, if you don't mind telling me when to stop.
Yes, please go for it. Go for it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 16, the Divine and Demoniac Natures. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetous, gentleness, modesty, a steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Partha. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. O son of Partha, in this world, there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior, no truth is found in them. They say the world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Taking shelter of unsatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. They believe that to gratify the senses is a prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, the anxiety is immeasurable, bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger. They secure money by illegal means for sense gratification.
Thank you. Well done. Very well read.
Prabhuji, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
And actually, originally the plan was for Madhu to read, and she's back. I think she was having problems with her internet. Madhu, are you there? Can you? Good. So yes, go for it. From text number 13, please.
Okay. So the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I've killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices, I shall give charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. Thus, perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others. And blasphemy against the real religion. Those who are envious and mischievous who are the lowest among men are perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. There are 3 gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts of conductive and self realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated.
Jay, thank you so much, Madhu. I must let everybody know, Madhu has really become a very big part of our temple because she does so many things. So thank you so much, Madhu. You're so helpful in everything. And she's actually just qualified as an architect, and she's doing work experience in getting our center up and running or renovated. So amazing. Thank you so much, Madhu. Okay. So over to you, Pari. Chapter
Thank you for
16. Very good.
Congratulations, Madhu Mataji. So chapter 16, divine and demonic.
Oh, we just lost you. We've lost you. We can't hear you. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Prabhuji, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you now.
Okay. So sorry about that. My internet connection was a bit lost there.
That's okay.
So these are one of the recent chapters that we've done. And I think this was one of the most important chapters as well, because throughout the Gita, we just see the mention of good qualities and what a godly or a saintful or a devoted man should have. However, this, like Prabhuji said, is an eye-opener, and it shows you what qualities maybe you should be working on now. And I think in Kali Yuga, all the people are a mix of these qualities, and they sort of possess both sides, and it's up to them on which one they sort of express the most. And I think it makes sense because Earth is the middle planet between the hellish and the good planets. And so the more good qualities we gain, the higher planets we go to. Now, coming to what Krishna has said in this chapter, it starts off with a number of divine qualities. Then it goes and starts to explain more about demoniac qualities and the nature, and it particularly emphasizes them. And it also shows what a demonic personality would say. For example, I am the enjoyer, I have given charity, things like this. The repetition of I shows how arrogant a demonic person would be. And then it goes down to talk about the 3 gates of hell, which are lust, anger, and greed. And so we see that these are things that we should really sort of keep out of our nature, and even one of these demonic qualities could sort of set us a bit back from being where we should be in our spiritual progress. So that's what the divine and demonic natures are about.
Very good. And Lord also explains how to escape or get out of this cycle of demoniac and divine and attain the supreme destination. But very well explained. Thank you so much. Now, chapter 17, we would like to call upon Deepika and her wonderful son, Praneeth. Let me just find you. Where are you, Deepika?
Good.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 17, the divisions of faith. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship accordingly to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: in goodness, in passion, or ignorance. Now hear about this. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one involves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish and who tolerate torture the material elements of the body as well as the super soul dwelling within are to be known as demons. Even the food each person prefers is of three kinds. According to the three modes of the material nature, the same is true of sacrificing, austerities and charity. Now hear of the distinctions between them. Foods dear to those in the mood of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one existence and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, and wholesome and pleasing to the heart. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to those in the mood of passion. Such food cause distress, misery, and disease. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mood of darkness. Of sacrificing, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness.
But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of the scripture, without distribution of prasadam or the spiritual food, without chanting the Vedic hymns and the remunerations to the priest, and without faith is considered to be in the mood of ignorance. Austerity of the body consists in the worship of Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master, and the superiors, like the father and the mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regular reciting Vedic literature. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one existence are the austerities of the mind. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men, not expecting material benefits, but engage only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Penance performed out of foolishness with self-torture or to destroy or to injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and the place and to the worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. But charity performed with the expectation of some return or with the desire for the fruitive results or in grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. And charity performed at the impure place at an improper time to unworthy persons or without proper attention and respect is said to be in the mode of ignorance. From the beginning of the creation, the three words Om, Om Tat Sat, were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These symbolic representations were used by the Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during the sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Therefore, transcendentalists undertaking performances of sacrifice, charity, and penance in accordance with the scriptural regulations begin with Om to attain the Supreme. Without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word Tat. That purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from the material entanglement. The absolute truth is the objective of the devotional service, and it is indicated by the word Sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called Sat. All are all works of sacrifice, penance, and the charity, which true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person, O son of Pritha. Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme, O son of Pritha, is impermanent. It is called asat, and it is useless both in this life and the next. Hare Krishna. Sarvam Krishna Arpanamastu.
Ki Jai. Thank you so much, Deepika. And Paneet, amazing. Very, very good reading, Paneet. And good training by Deepika. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Deepika sings beautiful bhajans every Thursday night. Please do join us when you get a chance. Okay, so Pari, chapter 17.
Thank you for reading. Chapter 17, the divisions of faith. So this starts off with Arjuna questioning how someone interprets things on their own, interprets the scriptures on their own. And obviously, Krishna states that is wrong. Interpreting a Veda or a Vedic literature on your own isn't sufficient. And everyone has different interpretations. And so getting the clear meaning, getting the proper meaning of it is really important. Then it talks about faith. And I remember recently in our session, because chapter 17 was the most recent one we've done, we talked about how everyone in this world has faith, and even though it's not in Krishna, it may be in any aspect of their life. For example, another Mataji that's in our sessions, she gave the example of we give our faith to a bank in terms of returning for our money. Whenever we go ask for it, we have faith that the bank will give us our money. Then we see the modes starting to enter in our daily activities. So for example, performing penances or austerities or sacrifices and charity, every mode is sort of given its own category. For example, even in food, food in the mode of goodness increases a lot of strength, it's nourishment, it's wholesome and it's satisfying. Whereas food in the mode of passion is too pungent, too salty, too sour, too dry, anything sort of overly used in one aspect. And then food in the mode of ignorance is extremely tasteless, it's putrid, it's something that we aren't supposed to eat. Well, not supposed to eat, but also more we shouldn't eat, so meat or eggs, and things like that. And when we eat food, we also realize that's how we start to act. For example, if we eat food in the mode of goodness, it gives us happiness, it gives us a fulfillment. When we eat too pungent, or too dry, or food that's too salty, it causes distress in us, it causes a lot of disease. And then when we look at food that is sort of in the mode of ignorance, it causes a lot of well, madness in a way. And the same with sacrifice and the other things that we discussed. Everything that you do in regards to scriptures and you do with a actual benefit for society rather than yourself is in the mode of goodness. Everything that you do for yourself and sort of for your own selfish benefits is in the mode of passion. And things done without the guidance of the scriptures and without offering prasadam, or without, when it's not the right time or the wrong place, then that's done in the mode of ignorance.
Very well explained. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And yeah, that's good. We also, in this chapter, Krishna describes Om towards the end, and how important Om is. So we chant, of course, the Maha Mantra, but we shouldn't forget that Om is the original sound which comes from Krishna to assist in the creation of this world. And Om actually represents Krishna. It's not a representing the formless aspect of the Lord, but it's representing the personal aspect of the Lord. Very important sound. Now, we want to invite the most important chapter to the most important person in this room, in this world, who is Shavi. She's one of our favorites, as is Pari. Actually, Pari, you've done phenomenally well. I have to say, I don't know many 16-year-olds who would be able to sit right through the Gita, but also be focused like you are. I think you're unique in this world. So well done for that.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really, really nervous. I was extremely nervous.
No, but you did it very well. We'd like to congratulate you.
Thank you. I think we've got a really good audience as well.
Yeah.
The way they're reading, they seem very, very indulged in the Gita.
Very, very true. Very true. And Shavi, I have to say, I have to spotlight her because she's such an amazing child. Every, like Damodar month or Purushottam Mas, she reads a whole chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. Every single evening she comes so consistently. And I'm so pleased with this wonderful child. And today she has the honor of reading the final chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. It's one of the longest chapters. And really looking forward to hearing from her because she reads so well as well. And she's only 9, right? My goodness. Go for it, Shavi. Oh, we need to unmute you. 1 second. If we can find you.
Yeah.
Okay, can you unmute?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Arjun said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa. O killer of the Gesi demon, master of the senses. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyas. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyag. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. O best of all Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of 3 kinds. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. All these activities could be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion. Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. O Arjun, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. For one who is not renounced, the 3-fold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life, having no such result to suffer or enjoy. O mighty armed Arjun, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of those from me. The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action. Whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive results, is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires, and enacted from a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion. The action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage, or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination, according to the three modes of material nature. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives away always in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life and sense, is determination in the mode of goodness. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in irreligion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjun, and that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion. Such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. O best of the Bharat, now please hear from me about the three kinds of happiness which by the conditioned soul enjoys, and by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress.
That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. There is no being existing, either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes. O chastiser of the enemy. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmins work. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for Vaishyas, and for the Shudras, there are labor and service to others. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature. O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault, one who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage. Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred. One who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance and who is detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter the kingdom of God. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee, under my protection, reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you'll be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. O scion of Bharat, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. Thus, I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. O son of Pratha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Arjun said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Sanjay said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjun. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjun. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjun, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you just do the final invocation as well, if you like, or Mataji can do it, or Puna Mataji, your mother can do it.
You can do that last shloka in Sanskrit if you want.
Can I do the last shloka in Sanskrit?
Yes, yes, go for it. Go for it.
Yatra yogeshwarah Krishna no yatra partho dhanuttaraha tatra shrir vijayor bhutir dhruva nitir matir mama.
Very, very good. 18th chapter ki jai, Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Shaivi ki jai. Fantastic. Sri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki jai. Jai Guru Premanande. Well done. Amazing. Over to Pari.
So thank you so much for reading, Shavi. That was beautiful. Last chapter, everyone. So I haven't actually done it before, but I'm going to try my best, Prabhuji. If you want, please correct me in the middle.
No, no problem, no problem.
So here we see a sort of conclusion. I mean, it is basically the conclusion, but the start tends to distinguish the Tyaga, so the renunciation, and the sannyasa, which is just letting everyone go. And the difference is Tyaga is letting go of the actual action that motivated by the actual desire that motivated the action, whereas sannyasa is just leaving everything and going off. And we see that Tyaga sort of emphasizes Bhakti Yoga again, because you're setting your desire aside and sort of giving all your result and your whole process to Krishna. And then it goes on to the 5 elements, and it talks about body, the agent, the sensory organs, and the behaviors, and the divine providence, which is I think it's like the fate that has been decided for you. And it talks about how the doers, or the people that think they are the enjoyers, it talks about how they fail to recognize these 5 elements, and they're so engrossed in sort of...
Oh, we lost you.
Muted. You muted it.
Hang on. We still can't hear you.
Her reception's down, I think.
Oh, your reception may be down.
Might be.
Okay, no, that's you got you back. Yes, go for it.
Sorry, where did I stop?
You were just about the doers, how we think we
Right,
are.
so yes, thank you. So the doers fail to realize these 5 elements are actually there, and they're so engrossed in sort of satisfying their own senses that they don't realize these things are very important. And we see that Krishna also talks about the 3 main aspects and that lead to fulfilling your spiritual progress. And the 3 are knowledge, action, and agent, which is sort of, the agent is just you as a person. And it talks about how sattvic knowledge comprehends, and it gives you the enlightenment for your soul that you've been looking for. And the sort of, so that's the knowledge of goodness. The knowledge of passion sort of disconnects you from the world, and it's all about your own benefit. And tamasic knowledge, or sort of ignorant knowledge, doesn't care about the truth of things. It only cares about the knowledge that gives you your own comfort. Then it talks about action, and action is only sort of in the mode of goodness when it's with pure motivation, and it's where it's related to the Lord. Passionate actions can be, again, those that benefit you, and the ignorant actions are things that only give you the temporary pleasure. For example, sleeping, that's a temporary action that makes you or sleeping more than needed, perhaps. That's something that's lazy, and it gives you that temporary satisfaction, but in the long run, again, it's not good. Then it talks about agent, and which is yourself basically, and it talks about that. It talks about how the person in the mode of goodness is free from ego, and it's free from attachment. Then the passionate person desires these results motivated from their attachment, and they are very connected to their ego, and they're very connected to what they want, and so that's the type of person they become. And the tamasic person, or the person fueled by ignorance, is extremely lazy. Often you could say they're cruel almost, because they disregard everyone else's sort of behavior or everyone else's needs and only care about themselves. And then Krishna also talks about happiness in all three sort of modes of nature, and happiness through learning about Krishna, or happiness through others, is sattvic happiness. Happiness when you get something or when you desire something is passionate happiness. And happiness you get from, laying around or just sitting down all day, things like that, that's ignorant happiness. And then we see about how Krishna also sort of relates everything between nectar and poison. And he talks about how for those that seek happiness through sensory like experiences, their greed turns nectar into poison. And for those who steadily try to attain spiritual levels, any poison they may have turns into nectar. And so between poison and nectar, it's sort of up to the agent, or it's up to the person and what they want to be more aware of, and what they want to essentially drink, nectar or poison. And I mean, then there's a tamasic person. There's the person in ignorance, which doesn't really care, is just completely in a place of delusion, and they don't realize that there is even these things that exist. They're so engrossed in their personal comfort that they don't realize. And so and also again, the divine qualities are sort of summarized. And yeah, and then in the end he's referred to as the mystic. Actually, I forgot what he's referred to. Master of mystics. And
Master of mystics.
Yes. And Arjuna is referred to as the archer. And so that describes them in that sort of life. And that's the end of it.
Well done. Considering we haven't gone through it, you've done very, very well. 18 chapters long, and it's not a lot. It's challenging. It's a fantastic chapter because in this chapter, as you very nicely explained, it talks about happiness. And he says like something that's poison in the beginning, but you keep endeavoring and it's connected to spirituality, it becomes nectar in the end. So sometimes the chanting can be quite tough. It's hard to chant because we're not used to it and we sort of lose our attention, but we keep endeavoring. And eventually that chanting will turn into nectar because we're connected with the Supreme Lord directly. And then those who are in the mode of passion, it's as you said very nicely, it's something that in the beginning is nectar, but in the end it turns into poison because, for example, eating sweets, we like eating sweets. We can eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gulab jamuns, no problem. After that, it's a bit harder. If when you come to the 20th gulab jamun, you think, no, this is poison. So, we might enjoy it in the beginning, but it's going to turn into nastiness later. And then those in the mode of ignorance, it's poison right from the beginning and it's poison at the end as well. The people who drink a lot, they're killing themselves in the beginning of the drinking, and they're going to kill themselves at the end of the drinking as well. So, and Krishna also describes how one who surrenders onto him, he's completely protected by the Lord. He has no fear. And that's one of the things we all aim for, to be completely under the guidance of the Supreme Lord. And then he describes something which is very dear to me. He says, and it's dear to him, he says that that person who describes this knowledge, this sacred, confidential knowledge to others, other devotees, he's very dear to me. And he says, that person who does that, there's no one more dear to me. And that's why, Pari, I think if I like the way you preach, you got a good style, and you're right at the beginning of your spiritual journey. And it's a fantastic place to be, fantastic place to start. And if you can share this knowledge with others, and I'm hoping that you will become a teacher, teaching Bhagavad-Gita to others. Certainly we'll do our best to help you in that process. But I can see great qualities in you, and you've got good stamina, because it's been nearly 5-6 hours. You've stayed right the way through. There's not many teenagers I know who can do that, and you remain focused. You've explained well, and you've been an absolute star, a real revelation to me. And really thankful to you and your parents for doing. And you've been a star throughout the Bhakti Gyan course, and really kept up so very well. So thank you very, very much. So that's the end of 18th chapter. And Krishna concludes at the end saying, hey, Arjun, have you stayed awake? have you listened to what I've said? Have you understood what I've said? And Arjun's reaction is fantastic. He says, yes, I will do what you want. I will do your work if you allow me to on your behalf. So that's a really powerful statement. Yes, Shavi, you can do the final invocation. And I like to also thank all of Priti, actually. Priti coordinated. I mean, there was at least about 20 children in total, I think, who read either a whole chapter or portions of a chapter. And they read it so competently. So Priti organized them, and really very thankful. Our children are our future. And if we can somehow imbibe this Sanatana Dharma principles into them at a young age, then we will all see great benefits in the future. So Priti, congratulations. Really very, very impressive. And the youngsters were so good. I'd like to unmute everybody. You can unmute yourselves. And I'm happy for you to just make some comments about these guys. These are wonderful children. But before we do that, I'd like Shavi to do the final invocation. This is Ekadashi as well. We normally do Vishnu Sahasranam, but I think we might be a little too knackered, or Radhika's left. So what we will do is right at the end, we'll read the Ekadashi Katha. Whoever wants to stay, you're welcome to stay. But in the meantime, let's hear the final invocation from Shavi, and then everybody can have a word. Yes, Shavi, let me just highlight you as well, if you don't mind. Okay.
Iti Srimad Bhagavad-Gitaya Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha Sannyasi Yoga Namak Ashtodashadhyayah Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Jai, thank you so much. Bhagavad-Gita ki Jai. Fantastic. Well done, Shavi. Really good. Okay, so anybody like to say anything? Any questions? No questions. That's right. Any comments? Priti, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I had a question, but I've forgotten, so I'll get back to you. Had a really nice afternoon, and when you said, "Oh yeah, take over the screen share," I was like, "Oh dear," I had to follow each and every day. But that was for my benefit. I realized afterwards following it, it was just really nice hearing it again, and listening to a few somewhere there were two separate texts, and it was nice to hear. And even the bit at the very end, the bit about Om as well, hearing that personal aspect. So that was really nice. Didn't seem to me before. And yeah, all the young children who were eager to take on to read, and really wanted to make sure that they got the opportunity to read. But thank you all for staying, coming, like, you know, when you said you were going to come, and it, you know, didn't know that it was going to take so long, but I think Dia and Yash were towards the end as well there, so well done to you hanging around. And for everyone, it's really good, and it's really nice to hear all the summaries from Bari as well. Yeah, that's quite a bit, every single chapter summary as well. Usually, you know, you delegate different people to give a little summary, so that was really quite amazing, you know. Yeah, so thank you, and thank Shavy as well. Really long read at the end there as well. It's very nice.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Anybody else? Anything else like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, this is Nutan. I've never heard so many beautiful children read. I'm just mesmerized, honestly. I think it's a beautiful Gita Jayanti. I go to the Hare Krishna temple every year, but I have to say online, this was so beautiful. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thanks a
I'm
lot.
looking forward to hearing you on Saturday, Sanskrit.
I will try my best. I will try my best. I will try my best. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I'm lost of words. 5 hours gone so nicely. I had to miss out a little bit in the middle because I had to go to see my son. But whatever I heard, it was mesmerizing, as Nutan says. And love to do it again whenever next.
Always
Horrible.
Saturday, we're doing it again.
Yeah, Saturday in Sanskrit will be nice. Okay, Hare Krishna. Marathon. Very good.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, absolutely amazing as usual. Thank you, Prabhuji, Mataji, all devotees and all the lovely children, Hare and Priti, everyone that got involved. Thank you ever so much. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was amazing. Actually. Okay. Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat, everybody, Nitai Gaur, Haribol. Wonderful Krishna Katha, and in the mood of King Parishit, we shall pray following the footsteps of King Parishit. He prays that, oh sages, keep on glorifying Lord Shri Krishna, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. In the same mood, the little children are like the sages. They have been reciting the Bhagavad-Gita, very interesting and very beneficial for Krishna consciousness. Krishna Katha, transcendental knowledge, is a boat with which we can cross over the ocean of material nations. It is said in the scriptures. So in the same way, so Parishit Maharaj says, please go on reciting Bhagavatam, the glories of Sri Krishna, and let the Takshaka, the mystical creature created by Shringi, let it come and bite me if it so desires, but you continue reciting the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. So our prayers and our Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees, please continue. We have been very fortunate to listen to this wonderful Krishna Katha Bhagavad Gita and Gita Jayanti Ki Jai, and Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas. Nitai Gaur Haribol. Thank you very much.
Surinder. Wonderful, wonderful. Nicely shared. Okay, if there's no... Yes, Mrs. Yes.
Prabhu, it's fantastic, Prabhu. Everybody is so nice explanation. And then was especially Puri and Sebi and of that really nice, and everybody patiently listen and everything. The time is gone very quickly.
Gone really quick.
Yeah, really beautiful, so beautiful. It's nice. Thank you for to giving this service to people.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna. Okay, so why don't we read? We can read the Ekadashi Katha if I will understand if devotees leave because it's been long. But Ekadashi is a very important day. we avoid eating grains and beans, and we try to remember Lord Hari as much as possible. And there's every Ekadashi has a special story. And this Ekadashi is called Mokshada Ekadashi, and this is the story.
Okay, so this Mokshada Ekadashi occurs during the waxing moon in the month of November or December. The glories of this Ekadashi are described in the Brahman Puran in the conversation between Lord Krishna and Maharshi Yudhishthir. Once Yudhishthir asked Lord Krishna, "My dear Krishna, what is the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the waxing moon in the month of November, December? Also, please explain to me in details about the procedure for observing this Ekadashi." Lord Krishna said, "O Master of Kings, this Ekadashi destroys all one's sinful reactions. If one worships the Supreme Lord with Tulsi Manjaris on this day, the Lord becomes extremely pleased. By observing this Ekadashi, one achieves the result of performing Vajrapaya sacrifice." There was a king named Vaikanasha who lived and ruled in the city of Champak. The king was very affectionate towards the citizens. Many qualified Brahmins who were very well versed in Vedic knowledge lived in his kingdom. One day the king had a dream that his father had fallen in the hell and was suffering unlimited miseries there. On saying this, the king became struck with wonder. The next day the king disclosed the topics of his dream in an assembly of learned Brahmins. He also informed them that his father had requested him to deliver him from the hellish condition. Ever since the king had this dream, he became restless and did not feel any happiness or interest in ruling his kingdom. He even dealt with his family members indifferently. He thought that the life, kingdom, opulence, power, and influence of a son is completely useless if his father is suffering in hell. Therefore, the king pathetically appealed to all the learned Brahmins. "Please tell me the way by which I can deliver my father from the clutches of hell." On hearing his appeal, the Brahmins said, "O king, the ashram of Parvat Muni is situated a short distance from here. He is the knower of past, present, and future. You please relate the topics of your dream to him." After hearing the suggestion, King Vaikanasha, accompanied by the Brahmins and his subjects, went to the ashram of Parvat Muni. When Parvat Muni inquired about the well-being of his kingdom, King Vaikanasha said, "Oh my lord, we are all very well by your mercy. But in spite of possessing the kingdom and all the opulences, I am in great difficulty. In fact, a doubt has arisen in my mind, and in order to remove that, I have come to your lotus feet." After hearing the whole incident from the king, Parvat Muni sat down in deep meditation. After a while, he got up from his meditation and said to the king, "My dear king, your father was very lusty in his previous life. Hence, he has degraded himself to this condition. Now you all should observe the vow of Ekadashi, which occurs during the waxing moon in the month of November, December, for the deliverance of your father, and donate the accumulated piety to him. Then, by the influence of that piety, your father will be relieved from the clutches of hellish life." After hearing these words from Parvat Muni, the king returned to his palace surrounded by his entourage. Thereafter, in due course of time, the king and his wife, children, and servants duly observed this Ekadashi, which occurs in the waxing moon in the month of November, December, and dedicated all its piety to his suffering father. By the influence of his piety, the father attained the heavenly planets and blessed his son very much. O king, one who properly follows this Mokshada Ekadashi is certainly relieved from all sinful reactions. So Mokshada Ekadashi ki jai.
Yay. Fantastic. So one thing that came out from this was that if we do any tapasya, like fasting on Ekadashi, we can actually transfer the benefit of that to others, like relatives or friends, those who need us any assistance. So if you have anybody who, the ancestors who we can give part of or all of the benefit to, then it's good to do that. The Lord becomes very pleased when we share the results of tapasya with others. It shows also our compassionate nature. Ekadashi is one austerity where you can do that. You can and request Mother Ekadashi, please give this much of the benefit of whatever austerity I've done to this person. So you can do that tomorrow morning. after finish or before finishing the fast. And the fast is to be completed around about 8 o'clock-ish, just after the sunrise, with grains, or if you're doing nirjal with some water, if you're just doing a fruit fast, then with some grains like that. So thank you so much, everybody. We can finish the session now. I'd like to thank everybody for joining and making this such a memorable, wonderful Gita Jayanti. Gita Jayanti ki jai. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Join us on Saturday. We are doing the Sanskrit. Madhu.
Thank you. Yes, Naviji.
Can you do Sanskrit?
I don't. I don't know.
Okay, you've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 days to learn Sanskrit, right? It takes lifetimes.
I'll try my best. Though.
It takes lifetimes, but you got 3 days.
Okay, Naviji.
No. I was going to ask you, actually, while you're here, we're doing this course for the children. At the end of the course, we will have, we want to give them each a certificate, like a nice certificate. So I don't know if you've ever produced anything like that, certificate, or have a look in your the thingy that you use, the
when I think when I did my high school back in India, I did it in this school called Chinmaya Vidyalaya.
Oh yeah.
So every time we go to this Bhagavad-Gita participation competitions, they used to give us the certificate. So are you trying to tell me something like that, or
something like that, something that just to let them know that they've completed the course, and there'll be a few of them who will get distinctions or merits, so some of them will be just passing the course. Thank you for doing the course, and see if you can find something.
Participation kind of a thing.
Yeah, if you're able to find something, don't spend too much time on it, but
no, I will have a look, Nabiji, because I did receive such certificates. It's back home in India, so yeah, I'll have a look into that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Very wonderful. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kaushalya Maji. Thank you, Kamakshi. Thank you, Ashish.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Vani, is that you, Vani?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you going to school tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow, you better go to sleep. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vani. You read very nicely, huh?
Thank you.
7-year-old, you're amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Shyamalini, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this.
No, thank you. It was amazing.
It was very nice program, Prabhu. Well organized. The children were amazing.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I'm proud of them. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.